Wait, do you have
Sorry?
proof as to some of these issues you're trying to say that Senator Ndume has to answer to?
I can't hear him. Yeah, I'm not hearing you too well. What I'm saying to you is this, that certainly he has questions to answer simply because, as we speak today, he's actually facing terrorism charges for being linked to Boko Haram. So certainly he has questions to answer. I'm also saying to you that a situation where somebody like Senator Zana in Borno State, from Borno State, appears to be able to tell us where, he said he knows where the girls are. He seems to know what the moves of Boko Haram are well before they take place, and so on and so forth. These are just issues. I'm just raising questions, and I'm saying that some of these issues ought to be addressed. But let me go further. Again, it's very clear that the founder of Boko Haram, the person that actually founded Boko Haram when he was in office, and I won't mention his name on television, but everybody knows who it is from Borno State. He's alive and well. He's a key member of the opposition. Again, I look at the utterances of the official spokesman of the opposition last year, that is Lai Mohammed, when he protested at the fact that Boko Haram was prescribed by the federal government, and when he said that it was unconstitutional for them to do so. He needs to explain why it is that he would want to protect and support an organization that has killed almost 15,000 Nigerians as at that time, and he's against the fact that they were being prescribed in order to protect Nigerians. Now, most important of all, and I've mentioned these things, but let me tell you the one that, as far as I'm concerned, is the most questionable thing of all. And I'd really like the governor of Borno State to perhaps respond to this, because we've asked him on a number of occasions. He doesn't seem to be able to have a response to this. I'm talking about the Chibok affair, which is on the lips of virtually everybody all over the world today. Now, it is a fact that before those girls were abducted in their dormitories, and before the whole incident took place, that the federal government sent a letter through the Ministry of Education to the governor of Borno State and told him that the exams should not take place in Chibok, that it was too dangerous. It is also a fact that WAEC notified him of this and wrote him formally. To both organizations, both the federal government and to WAEC, the governor guaranteed the security of those little girls, and he said the exams should go ahead. Consequently, the exams went ahead. It didn't stop there. The exams went ahead. 300 girls were in that exam. A number of other children took the exams. But all the other children, the male children, went home after the exams. The children of all the principal officers in the school, that is the principal, the teachers, all of them, they all went home after the exams. But the girls were encouraged to sleep at school, and they slept. Now, as they slept, there was no generator, there was no NEPA, there was only one security man at the gate. One security man, an elderly person at the gate. 300 girls sleeping, no NEPA, no generator, and then the Boko Haramites came and they abducted them. Now, as far as I'm concerned, there needs to be an element of accountability here. It is important that we know why it is that the governor of Borno State insisted that those exams should go ahead. Why is it that a number of children were not at that school, were not asked to stay there through the night as the others were? Why it is that only one security guard was at the gate, and why it is there was no NEPA, no generator, no teacher, no adults. There was no adults apart from the security man at that school that night. Now, these are, again, issues, and of course, that's an APC governor. Now, we could go on and on. I could also tell you about the fact that a very key member of the opposition that was supporting the opposition was also involved in certain things in the mid-90s, where Gideon Akaluka was killed in Kanu and he was beheaded. And the story is that this gentleman was locked up for 2 years.
Can you hear me, Mr. Fani Kayode?
Why is nobody asking questions? I won't mention his name on here. He knows who he is. The Nigerians know who he is. There's also the other incident of the bomber.
Hello, can you hear me?
The Detroit bomber in America, who was apprehended by the FBI.
I think we need to fix something.
Can I go on?
All right. Before we go on to all of the Chibok matter, let me just take you up on that, but so we don't lose our train of thought on this one. But we will come and take you up on the response that they have also given about these questions that you raised, because we did put it across to, I think, the SSG to Borno State government while he was here. Speaking about all of those comments which you've highlighted, some of those cases in court as well for the senator, we've got a government in place in this country. Could it be, or is it that, I mean, what do you tell those who say, I mean, having itemized all of these comments that they've made, they also believe that the government has all these comments, they can access them. So what stops them from chronicling all of this and say, well, according to our laws, you can actually answer questions if you're found wanting, and then they take them to the appropriate quarters, or invite anyone, no matter how highly placed, for questioning. As long as the law says you've got questions to answer, what stops them from inviting them for questioning? Or do they think that they are above the law?
Well, you know, that question is probably best put to the government and not to me. I believe that that is the right and proper thing to do. I mean, certainly if you have key people in this country saying that Boko Haram should not be prescribed, and you have all these sort of issues being raised in the role of the governor of Borno State, I think it's important, and I would urge the government to do precisely that. But as far as I'm concerned, where we are today is this. If you compare what's happening in Nigeria to what happened in Ireland a number of years ago, you had Sinn Féin on the one hand, and then you had the IRA on the other. The IRA was the armed wing of Sinn Féin. And as far as I'm concerned, Boko Haram could well be described as the armed wing of the opposition today. Now, I say this based simply on the fact that some of these comments have been made by these people in the past. I say it based on the fact that there are certain things that have been done and been said by key officials of the opposition, and I base it on the fact that, as far as I'm concerned, until those questions are answered, it's a legitimate assertion to make, and they need to answer these questions. But why they haven't been arrested or questioned, I really don't know. You have to put that to the government.
What about those who also are of the opinion that, in terms of the history of this, I do remember, I think it's the former chief of defense staff who did say, well, the government was going to name names of sponsors of Boko Haram and then trace the history, those who are behind it. And up till today, the country waits on that list from government. So much as, yes, lots of questions everywhere. But there are those who also think that when the government says they're going to do something, they've got to do it to demonstrate to the people that if you've got to rally the troops, absolutely, we are also ready to join with government to fight terrorism.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I think it's important that once the government has made a commitment to do something like this, they need to follow through. I mean, the last signal you want to send is one of weakness, and I think it's absolutely vital and important. But you see, what you also have to understand is this. What I'm saying to you here, very few people will say it, simply because the whole land is permeated with a level of fear. And the government also has to be a little bit careful, because if, for example, they start picking up opposition figures based on what they said, of course, the other side will say, oh, you are persecuting our leaders and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is this. It is something they need to do. They need to take a hard line on these issues. They need to round up those that appear to have sympathies with Boko Haram, whether they are PDP members or APC members, and they need to do something about it. Because it is very clear to me that there are certain elements within the political class that encourage this, that profit from it, in the sense that if there's a bomb tomorrow, they believe it's evidence of the weakness and the incompetence of this government. And I think that's the wrong way to look at it. You should channel your negative thoughts towards the perpetrators of the crime, and you should try your best to understand that they are doing this simply to discredit the government, destabilize the country, bring down the government through the auspices of a military coup, or to create dissension and turmoil in the country so that only an interim national government can save the day, or perhaps to prepare the ground for election next year and say, listen, you cannot go on with this man. Let us have somebody else in his place, somebody from the north who knows what to do. And what the other side is saying, people like myself, is this. You cannot bomb a president out of power. He may have his weaknesses, he may have made his mistakes, and goodness knows, I have criticized this government probably more than anybody else in the past. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is this. The minute you give in to terror, and you say people can bomb sitting presidents out or kill citizens to discredit in order to discredit the government and make the government look weak and bad, and we succumb to that and we feed into that, then we're in trouble. It means we're not running a democracy. We're running a system that is actually being fueled and perpetrated by bombing and violence and so on and so forth. And that is quite unacceptable.
Are you